Welcome back and happy Children's Day. But who are these children we're raising? Now, they are known these days as Gen Alpha, Generation Alpha, children born between the years of 2010 and 2024. Do we actually understand them? If we don't understand them, how can we motivate them? And exactly what would they be doing by the time they reach adulthood? Those are the questions we hope to answer, possibly today. We have with us Gabriel Balogun, a friend of the house, speaker, workshop facilitator, learning and development leader, and he's known for cultivating high-performing teams as he coaches individuals and consults for companies and organizations. Now, that consulting clause there is important because a lot of organizations don't understand how to motivate this next coming generation. And that's why we're here. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you.
It's good to be here.
So now, Gen Alpha are our kids. They are the younger siblings of the Gen Zs. And I feel like we're just beginning to understand how different the Gen Zs are to us, in quote, millennials right now. And of course, the baby boomers from way up there. But let's consider who they are and how we can begin to motivate them.
I mean, you said it in your introduction that a research in 2008, if I'm right, by McCrindle, an Australian firm, said that Generation Alpha are kids born in the year 2010 onwards to 2024.
That's this year.
This year is the last
year for Gen Alpha.
Year for Gen Alpha's birth. These guys are socially aware because they are technologically advanced and they are driven, like highly driven by social and digital communities. Okay. And partly because they came into the world at a time where the world was very connected. Societal issues were made popular on social media. If a man beats his wife, it's on Instagram the next day, and they spend a lot of time on social media, so they pick it up. So these are kids that are very socially aware. They understand diversity, inclusivity. They want to make a difference with their lives. And so they're not kids that you would say sit down and they would sit down. They're kids that you have to negotiate with to really understand what's going on in their head.
So negotiating with a child is not something we millennials understand. It's my way or the highway. It is sit down, and you cannot ask me why I say you should sit down. Nope. Because I know better. But they don't understand it that way.
No.
So how do we begin to motivate a generation that feels like they, in quote, understand it or probably do understand a lot more than we assume they understand?
Yeah. I think the first thing every parent needs to do is to understand that the world is evolving rapidly fast. And so, quick backstory. Survival of the fittest is not a concept of strength. It's a concept of adaptability. Okay. And what that means is that in a certain generation, a creature will gain certain or adapt into certain abilities such that when it goes out of that season, those abilities have become part of their DNA. Okay. When they give birth, they automatically give birth to children born with those abilities that they had to adapt into. Okay. So man had survived over the period of years, generations upon generations. So what the Generation Alpha exhibiting now are things that millennials had to adapt into. Sure. So it's only normal that when you give birth, you had to negotiate at work. Maybe not when you were a kid, but as you grew older, you had to master those skills. So it's normal that when you give birth, your kids will come with that curiosity. Okay. So the first thing is you need to open your mind and understand that if I don't tell this child possibly has listened to TVC news on YouTube. Yeah. And has picked up the latest news in Nigeria. And you're telling me, no, it's not true. And it's like, I just watched this 2 days ago, Daddy. It is true. And then you think that child is disrespectful. But it's just expressing and it's communicating, and you need to communicate that way back.
So now, the generation we're talking about now, we can say a lot of them were born in a time that working from home was the norm.
Yes.
The COVID babies, so to speak, COVID generation, so to speak. They came into a time where they saw their moms and dads sit at a desk in their house, not having to go out.
Yes.
And that has definitely affected the perspective, the way they grew up. So I guess millennials grew up in a time where we saw mom and dad go out, rush out early in the morning and come back late.
Very late.
So how has this affected their mindset?
I think that they would grow up as kids that would not spend too long at work. So one of the things that employers of the new generation has to know is that, number one, you need to do important work.
Okay.
Relevant work. Your company has to be solving a relevant problem. One. Two, you need to create interactive experiences.
Okay.
Because these guys saw their parents have to battle with Zoom and all of those things. Technology. They're expecting that when they come to work, it's that interactive, right? Three, don't expect them to show up at your office every day.
Wow.
They would rather want to work from anywhere in the world.
Remote work.
Remote work.
Is normal for them.
It's going to be normal for them because that's, I mean, a baby, we saw it during COVID, a baby coming to stay in front of the camera with the mommy while she's having a meeting. Yeah. That is ingrained into our mindset. So she grows up expecting that.
That's how work is.
This is how work should be. My kids too will come and play with me while I'm at work, right? So that's what they expect.
Now, Gen Alpha is going to be going into adulthood by 2029.
Yes.
So essentially, if we are planning to be in business or relevant in 2029, what do you think are the things we need to adjust in our mindset?
Like I said, I started with saying your cause as a business needs to be relevant.
Yeah.
They are not going to join anything that is not socially relevant because they want to change the world. They don't want to be doctors or astronauts or any of those things anymore.
Wow.
They don't. They want to be...
They don't want to be engineers.
Yeah,
they don't want to be lawyers.
They want to be social media influencers that can gather following. They want to be Mbappe,
football,
a big football star. You know, that's the new level. So they want to... You want to give them something. What I'm saying is you want to give them something to aspire to. So business owners need to begin to think of that. Two, you need to create... if you're a business and you're going to serve that market, you need to ensure that your product is quick and fast. They call the Gen Z the Indomie generation, the microwave generation. But I bet you these guys are going to, they're already playing in the metaverse. These guys need brands that I want to tap and not bother about a card, or I just want to stand in front and you look at my eyes and I get paid. So you have to start thinking of that from a sales perspective, from a product perspective, and from a purpose perspective. So
in terms of purpose, we were always taught we need to find purpose in what we do. Do you believe Gen Alpha will have to also find their purpose, or has their purpose sort of been created for them already based on how they were raised? Purpose is usually a very interesting topic I like to talk about. I don't think that man was meant to find purpose. I think that man was meant to live in purpose, right? And I can't even go into that now. But I think that the purpose of anything comes from the creator of that thing, right? But for Gen Alphas, many of them grew up in, or are growing up in an environment where the world is so connected. They want to be part of the world and they want it big and want it fast. So the faster it is, the quicker it is, the bigger, the more larger than life it is, the more excited they had to be part of it. So we could say, again, everybody's purpose, assignments might be different, right? But I think you want to build something big, quick, and fast, and that can attract them to be part of your purpose because they feel like that's what I want to be. So now we've talked about it from a business standpoint, but what about as a parent now? So there is still the whole spare the rod, spoil the child situation going on. But when a young person, a Gen Alpha, a child between the age, were born between 2010 and 2024, is asking you why you told them to sit down, or why they need to do their homework, or why they need to, wash their hands, or whatever it is. How should a parent in this year respond to it?
I need to make this point because we're still in 2024. The oldest Gen Alpha is 14 years. So they are still technically a child. Sure. Right? They're teenagers. They're not even mid-teenagers yet. Yeah. And they are usually the youngest siblings, or maybe your first child. So if they are the youngest, if you have children before them, those kids are possibly Gen Zs. Yeah. Sure. One of the things you can do is to make the Gen Zs in your family your mouthpiece. Because then they understand you, the mother. Okay. They've had to grow with you. Sure. So they can communicate. So mommy says you should sit down. Yeah. This is why mommy wants you to sit down. So you're saying the Gen Zs in the environment should be able to sort of encourage the Gen Alphas, as opposed to you trying to... Yeah, because the disconnect is so far. Okay. Your reality of growing up as a child is... But me as an adult, I'm even still worried about whether that Gen Z is going to give the right messaging. Which is why you have to spend... So if you have a Gen Z and a Gen Alpha, spend a lot of time with both of them, but build your Gen Z to the point where they are sound enough to deliver your messages to Gen Alpha. The Gen Alphas. And then if you don't have a Gen Z, if you have just a Gen Alpha, you need to be as patient as a dove. You need to be as soft. You need to be as loving. But we're not coddling them. We're not... Shouldn't we still be sort of bracing them up for hard knocks? In fact, this is the time every parent needs to become soft and firm. Wow. So you need to be like water. Okay. There are certain environments that will make you hard as water. Sure. There are certain environments that will make you dynamic and fluid like water. Sure. There are certain environments that will make you become vaporized. But still water. You're still water, right? So you need to master that. You need to know, I've told you to sit down. I've explained to you. For instance, a child steals. You beat the child, but while beating the child, in fact, you explain first, this is what you did, this is why I'm going to beat you, and then you beat the child. Okay, so this is a process. Yeah, you explain, and then you beat. Because, okay, well, with that, so discipline is another topic for another day. Yeah. Disciplining them wasn't really our focus. Motivating them was our focus for today. What are they motivated by? The environment, which is different from the environment. Relevant purpose. Okay. If you're doing something around diversity, they will show up. About equality, they would show up because that's what they are born into. That's the noise at the moment. So that's what matters to them. You know what? I wish we could continue this conversation, but your thoughts are so relevant on this particular issue as well. How do we motivate the Gen Alphas, the children in our environment right now? It's something we really need to ask ourselves as parents. This was a motivation stroke parenting conversation today, but in the spirit of Children's Day, let's see what we can do to make the environment more conducive for the kids today, especially in the digital space. Thank you so much, Gabriel, for coming to talk to us once again. Yeah. We are heading to the kitchen now. Mary and Chef Tina have been doing an amazing job.